Today we're not going to talk about beautiful buildings. Not exactly. We're going to talk about why the small firms that design them, well, why they so often struggle, and sometimes even fail. And it's not about bad design. It's about a hidden crisis, this operational friction that just grinds creativity to a halt. I want you to let this quote sink in for a second. Small firms don't die from bad aesthetics. The real killer, the thing that shutters the doors of these passionate, super talented architects, it's the daily, grinding inefficiency of just running the business. So when we talk about AI in architecture, our minds usually jump to some pretty exciting places, right? And you know what? That's exactly the problem. We are having completely the wrong conversation.
Okay, let's really dive into this. Over on the left, you've got the hype, the sexy stuff, AI generating these incredible facades, spitting out mind-blowing renders in seconds. It's cool for sure, but it's not the main story. Because on the right, that's the reality for a small practice. The endless hours spent on proposals you might not even win, the painstaking, tedious zoning research, the absolute file chaos where crucial information just goes to die. That is the conversation we need to be having.
All of that reality stuff, it acts like a hidden tax on your firm's time, on your resources. These aren't just line items on an invoice. They're these invisible drains on your profitability. And, let's be honest, on your sanity.
Look, for a small firm that doesn't have a huge admin team, these aren't just minor annoyances. No way. They are fundamental structural threats. Every single hour a principal architect spends digging for an old email or trying to calculate a fee, that's an hour they can't bill, and it's an hour they're not designing. It directly squeezes your profit margins and makes it almost impossible to grow. And just how bad is it? Look at this number, 10%. Research shows that writing proposals, just proposals, can eat up to 10% of an architect's total professional time in a year. That's 5 full weeks of work. And a lot of the time, it's completely uncompensated. It's just seen as the cost of doing business. But what if it didn't have to be?
So this slide here breaks down the biggest culprits. The research pinpoints these top 3 time sinks. First, that proposal writing we just talked about. Second, the super high-stakes world of zoning research. And third, something we can all relate to, the simple but maddening task of just finding information in your own files, what the source calls a failure of project memory.
To really understand the pain here, let's just dissect one of these. We're going to put zoning research right under the microscope and see just how deep this rabbit hole of friction really goes.
You know, this isn't just a quick Google search. As you can see here, we're talking about manually digging through these dense, unbelievably complex local codes. It's cross-referencing a bunch of different documents, calculating floor area ratios. The whole process is super labor-intensive and honestly dangerously prone to error. A mistake here could literally kill a project, and that's why it needs a highly skilled, expensive architect to do it, making it a massive bottleneck right at the beginning of a project. Okay, so we've laid out the problem. It's big, it's expensive, and it's just baked into the old way of doing things. But what if we could just change that? Now, let's look at a real-world demo of a solution that feels, well, it feels almost like science fiction.
Just look at this comparison. It's kind of nuts. On the left, you've got the traditional process for this exact pre-designed work for a project in Boston. 1.5 to 3 weeks of an architect's time costing the client thousands of dollars. On the right, the same scope of work, and actually more, was done in a live session with an AI Copilot in 31 minutes. This isn't just a small improvement. It's a complete paradigm shift.
So how is that even possible? Let's break it down. Just 7 minutes in, boom, the complete zoning summary was done. At the 12-minute mark, the critical path for permitting was already outlined. By minute 16, it had already scoped out potential energy rebates for the client. This is about compressing weeks of painful manual research into a single focused work session. So what did the architect actually walk away with after that half hour? It wasn't just one report, no. They got a full suite of client-ready deliverables, a zoning brief, budget scenarios, a risk audit, a program matrix. See, this isn't just faster, it's actually more comprehensive. It provides this immense value to the client right from the very start. So, what does this all mean? We have to stop thinking of AI as just another tool, like a rendering engine or something. The real potential is unlocked when we start seeing AI as foundational infrastructure for the firm. It's the system that gets rid of all that friction. And this brings us to this really key economic idea, the utilization multiplier. This is where the magic happens.
AI infrastructure takes all that time you were losing to non-billable drag, and it converts it. It turns that waste into either more billable hours for the firm, or, maybe even more importantly, into focused, creative time for the architect to actually do what they love: design.
Okay, so that sounds great, right? But how can a firm actually do this? The research suggests a really clear three-step path. First, you automate the administrative stuff, the proposals, the filing, get that off your plate. Second, use AI to bring deep analysis to the very front of the project, de-risking it from day one. And third, create a system that actually preserves and organizes your firm's knowledge so you never have to solve the same problem twice.
And this all leads us to the ultimate point here. This isn't just about making firms more profitable. It's about fundamentally changing the job of an architect for the better. It's about redeploying that incredible human talent.
Think about it. When an architect gets back 5 weeks a year from just writing proposals, when zoning analysis takes a few minutes instead of a few days, what does that unlock? It frees up the most valuable resource in the entire process, the architect's creative mind. Which leaves us with this one final, really exciting question. If AI handles all the friction, what will you have the time and the energy to create?